are included onto the Java 1.8, and before 1.8 how we are been programming onto the Java. So we are going to explore onto it. So when someone is asking like who Java is, so immediately in that time some features would become in our mind, like a lambda expression, functional interfaces, default method in interfaces, static method in interfaces, some predefined interfaces like predicate, function, okay, consumer, and constructor reference, method reference, stream API, date and time API. So these concepts will come in our mind when someone is asking like what features are introduced onto the Java 1.8. Okay. So this is Java 1.8 which we are going to explore. But before moving on to the Java 1.8, let us me explore much more like how many versions would be came and what features are basically introduced onto there. Yeah. So in Java, like there are so many releases which come prior to Java 1.8. So let us discuss on to that one. In Java 1.1 was released in the year of 1996. 1996. And what features were introduced into here? The features were introduced like initial release, basic OOPS concepts, AWT, applet and supports. Another release were introduced onto the 1997. Okay, and in this release it was a minor release. In here inner classes, JDBC, RMI, reflection were introduced onto the Java 1.1 version. In another release were introduced 1998. In here, swing, collection framework, Git compiler, these features were introduced. Collection framework is the most important feature into the Java. Okay, Git compiler, just-in-time compiler. So another release was introduced onto the 2003. When it is introduced, 2003, and um, sorry, not in 2003, it's a 2000. And what things are introduced? Hotspot JVM, JDPA, it means debugging, RMI improvements. In a 2002, one new version it introduced, Java JDK 1.4 version, which basically introduced assert keyword, neo, exception handling, and logging API. Okay. In a 2004, another 2004, Java JDK 1.5 version were introduced, which is again major version of Java. What is that? It is a major version. Major version. And what things it is basically introduced? Generics. Okay. GENI generics, enhanced for loop, enhanced for loop, annotation. Okay. And auto boxing, auto unboxing, auto boxing, auto boxing, auto unboxing, enums, okay, enums and varas. So this is a major version in a uh, this is what is in it is JDK Java 1.5 version. In a Java 1.2 version which is introduced, it is introduced in a 1998 Java 1.2 version. Like what is introduced? Collection framework, string, and the JIT compiler. Okay. So in after 1.5 version, if we are coming in a 2006 year of 2006, another version was introduced. Okay, it is a Java 6 improved web services, compiler API, and the performance improvement. It is a minor version only, like every year or every 2 years they were releasing. In Java 7 were introduced 2011. Okay, Java 2011, which version it is introduced? Java 7 version. They are introduces try with the resources, switch with the string, diamond operator, and a multi-catch. Repeat it again. Try with resources. Okay. What is which version it is? Java 1.7 version, and try try with resources, comma, switch with string, diamond operator, multi-catch. Yeah. So another version after Java 1.7 version, JDK 8. Okay, it is introduced in a 2014, which is our code. 2014, which version? JDK sorry, Java 1.8 version is introduced. So what features they have introduced? Lambda expression. Okay, lambda expression, comma, stream API. I will explore onto this much more with zero to hero. Okay, I will explore each and everything which is introduced so that you people can come confidence onto this one. How we writing lambda expression, what is the stream API, what is the functional interfaces, what features are come onto the date and time API. Okay, so don't worry about that one. Stream API, default methods, and new date and time API, new date and time API, optional classes, much more important. Okay, optional classes, and so these features, method reference, constructor reference, method reference, Java 20. Here, what they were introduced, scoped values, further preview of virtual threads. In a Java 21, 2023 were introduced. Java 2023, Java 21. This is again a major support of Java. Okay. So finalized virtual threads, string templates, unnamed classes, and instance main methods. Finalized virtual threads, string template, unnamed classes, and instance main method. Finalized यानी कि virtual threads, string templates, unnamed classes, and instance main methods. Okay. So these are the different versions of Java from the 1996 to the 2023, where they have introduced the different features of the for making the programming as simplified as a possible. So we are going to learn of the Java JDK 1.8 version, which is introduced into the 2014, and what features we are going to learn: lambda expression, stream API, default methods, new date and time API, and so on. So let's start on the Java 1.8. Okay, Java 1.8. So as of we all of we know, like what is a Java? Java is basically a object oriented language. So if someone is asking object oriented languages, so what features is come in our mind? So encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, and um abstraction. These features have come on Java. So Java 1.8, before Java 1.8, our Java it was basically working on the their main motive was working on the object oriented programming. It was not supporting to work on the functional programming. So for writing a big program as well, a small program or any functional program, functional oriented program, we need to write, we need to follow some standard, like we need to write the class of that one, we need to then create object of that method. Okay, then we need to call that method to particular. If it is a static method, then we need to call that class name. If it is not a static method, then we need to call the object name. So these procedure we need to follow. Okay, but from the Java 1.8, we no need to write this much of duplicacy of the code. So it is much more simplified program which we can introduce functional programming in our Java program. So that's why functional programming were introduced in a Java to simplify the program. Okay, so as we know, like from the Java, why Java 1.8, so any of the version which is came, it is coming to reduce the programmer uh, uh, like complexity. So if there is any in a program, there is much more complexity. So to make simplify this program and more understandable format, reduce the duplicacy the code. That's uh, that's why new feature is key. In that case, Java 1.8, there are so many level enhancement were happening. So before Java 1.8, if we can see, there was no much more introduced onto the functional programming. Okay, but from the Java 1.8, we are introduced a functional programming. I will explore you much more onto this. What is the functional programming? How can we know? How we can write this functional programming in here? Don't worry about that one. Just need to understand the terminology. Okay, so it will be set up into your mind what features is basically come onto the Java 1.8. So before Java 1.8, if I say in a Java 1.8, there are multiple enhancement what happen, like the interface level enhancement what happens. Okay, second, collection level enhancement what happens. Okay, third is date and time level enhancement what happens. What is first one? Multiple enhancement what happen for Java 8 1.8 to simplify our programming. First is interface level enhancement. Second is collection level enhancement. Third is date and okay. So these enhancements were happening. So what is interface level enhancement? Okay. Interface level enhancement. Before Java 1.8, there is only we can write public static final variables in the interface and a public abstract method. Just be careful. What can we write onto the interface? Public abstract methods only we can write onto the interface. Understood? And public static final variables we can write onto the interfaces. But from the Java 1.8 onwards, we can write default methods onto the interface and as well public static methods onto the interface as well. So what can we write onto the interface? Public default method onto the interface and also static methods onto the interface. So this is the facility which are providing onto the Java 1.8 version. Also, one much more things were introduced onto the Java 1.8. There is a functional interface. Okay, interface all of you know. Interface contains how many so many abstract methods. So what is abstract method? The function or the methods which have only the prototype, not having any body. So that is the abstract method. Okay, and how interface is defining by the keyword of interface. So that is the interface property. So what is the interface? Interface basically provides the abstraction, it is a fully unimplemented. Okay, but from the Java 1.8 we can provide a default method so that gone on to the implemented classes. If user or if implemented class is want to use that default implementation, that is okay, as they can override to that their method onto their own case. That is the purpose of default method onto the interface. Static methods while loading the class. Okay, so these are the things. Now I can